and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. I hope you're all doing very, very well. November now, isn't it? Just around the river bend, Christmas. So that's why today we are doing the end of the year book tag. I love doing this book tag. I love doing the versions of this book tag throughout the year. So there's the quarter year book tag, mid-year free cap tag, and then this end of the year book tag. And I always think it sort of rounds up my reading before the end of the year. Oh, my optician's not going to like me polishing my glasses on this jumper. But they're very steamy. Oh, that's made no difference at all. What do you think of my jumper? My mum knitted it for me for my birthday last year, and I'd sort of forgotten it existed. It had been put away because my birthday's at the end of November. Often when I get items for my birthday, I don't wear them because I'm full into Christmas jumpers come December. And then this got whisked away with other stuff. So here I am in my mum's jumper. Didn't she do well? It's very cosy, and then it's got a little blue stripe on the bum. Yeah, she's knitting me a scarf this year, so hopefully that'll be done in time. Anyway, end of the year book tag. There's 6 questions. We are going to talk through my reading for the rest of the year. Would love to hear your versions of this. If you have done this video, please link it down below or let me know. Or simply answer the questions in the comments. The first question is, are there any books you've started this year that you need to finish? And I've actually left the 2 books over there, so here we go. So I haven't got any sort of really ongoing reading projects. Like when I watched back last year's video, and there was a few books that I'd started at the beginning of the year that I'd then sort of settled and needed to pick up. But the only 2 books I've got that I've started that I need to finish are the 2 that I'm reading at the moment, which are One of Us by Elizabeth Day, which is the first fiction of Elizabeth Day I've read. I've listened to How to Fail Her podcast a lot and read the accompanying book to that, and also the book she wrote a couple of years ago called Friendaholic, which I found very, very interesting. But I'm really enjoying this. It's very, very readable. Sort of follows, well, it's sort of like political thriller following a variety of people that are involved in this family. There's been a death in the family and what's gone on to cover up what actually happened to that person. There's sort of schemings and running for Prime Minister and all sorts of stuff going on, and affairs, and the equivalent of a sort of, it's like a stop oil revolution thing going on in here. But yeah, very, very readable, very, very into this. I was surprised when I got it out from the library. I was surprised to learn that even though they had something like 16 copies, there were still 48 reservations on this. So that's why I picked it up straight away. But very much enjoying it. Like, looking forward to seeing what comes of it all. And then I'm non-fiction wise. So the other book I'm reading is The Story of a Heart by Rachel Clark, which won the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction this year. It also says here shortlisted for the Baillie Gifford Awards. I don't know. I don't think it won the Baillie Gifford Award. I don't think it did. But yeah, this is the story of a heart. A young girl, Kira, who dies in a car accident, and her heart gets donated to a young lad, Max, who is very unwell, is very, very poorly following a virus that targeted his heart. And the way it's told, I was always nervous about reading this, and like when I read stuff about health and illness, I always feel a bit, oh, it makes me feel a bit funny. So I was nervous to go to this when this is exactly what this was going to be about. And it still makes me feel that vibe, but it's so beautifully written and so well researched. So we're not only just hearing about the situation that like arose that Kira's heart would be available to Max, but we're also hearing about the history of organ donation, the history of intensive care, how the first sort of like anaesthetic was used in an operation, and blood transfusions and stuff like that. It's just so well done. Like of course this one, like this is fantastic. So yes, I'm very much enjoying it, but it is still a difficult read for me. So yeah, so I guess those are the 2 books that I need to finish. If I can sort of say there's other books that I do need to read by the end of the year, and those are some book club books. So for my book club, my WI book club that I'm part of at my local library, we sort of, the way that books get picked is that it's sort of taken in turns, and people are suggesting authors and stuff like that. And somebody suggested Ken Follett, which is an author I've always wanted to read. And whenever people find out I'm a reader, I often get asked, oh, have you ever read any Ken Follett? And I never have. So this book was suggested. This is Never by Ken Follett, and I've got to have this read by, I think it's the 11th of November. It is just over 800 pages long, but I am told it reads very quickly. So yeah, so I've got to have this read, and then in the way of and there'll be there'll be one more book club before Christmas with the WI, but I've bloody forgotten what we're supposed to be reading. So I think it's a non-fiction Christmas book about World War II, which will be very interesting. But yeah, I can't remember the title of it or anything. But my book club that I run, November's book is Blackwood's Blue Sky by Aylwin Ivy. The theme for this was books that I think will be good. So we're going to read this. Aylwin Ivy is also the author of The Snow Child, which is a book I've read a couple of times and I find very sort of atmospheric and wintry. So with the weather drawing in, maybe this will be the same sort of thing. And then Christmas book club for Patreon. It's actually between two books, but I don't have the other one of these with me. It's in storage, but this is a bit of a spoiler actually for those who haven't joined the Christmas book club yet. David and I will be doing a video about the Christmas book club, which will be coming out this Wednesday. But I've already told Patreons that this year we're doing a sort of author spotlight on the author, on the book that we're going to be picking, and the author is Laurie Gilmore, who's written these sort of like fun, spicy, seasonal romances, and the ones that are up for the vote are The Gingerbread Bakery and The Christmas Tree Farm, both of which are very Christmassy. In fact, I think this one doesn't mention Christmas at the background, but it does say, I mean, that is the most Christmassy front cover I've ever seen. So yeah, so those are my books that I've got to read by the end of the year. And then I've also got a little pile here to show you. These will be appearing in my my Christmas TBR, but I've just picked up 4 Christmas books from the library that I would like to read by the end of the year. 3 Christmas books, sorry. Oh, 4, because it includes The Gingerbread Bakery. But they all have reservations on them. One of them has like 20 something reservations on them and are all due back before December. And I try not to do any Christmas reading until December, but one of them it looks like I'm definitely gonna have to read. So I've got The 12 Days of Christmas by Suzanne Stokes Chapman. And these are, so it says here, it's 12 festive tales. So it's a collection of short stories in 12 staves. Now, I don't know what that means, but I assume that means that there's 12 festive stories. So there we go. I'll go into more detail of this when we get to the Christmas TBR, of course. Then I've got Jingle Spells by Emily Grimoire, which sounds quite fun, Christmassy and witchy. I mean, maybe this would be the ideal one to read, but this isn't the one that's got any reservations on, so that one I can hang on to. This is the one that's got loads and loads of reservations on. This is The Secret Christmas Library by Jenny Colgan. And I've read a few Jenny Colgan books. There's normally a Christmas release. Let's have a look at the Christmas ones. Oh, maybe not. Midnight at the Christmas Bookshop was the one I was thinking of, so I've read that. So I always enjoy these because they're easy reads and they've got a good like storyline to follow and plot. But what I will say is that the last 2 books I've read of Jenny Colgan's, there is so much, oh, I can't have a latte because I'm trying to be good, that sort of vibe. And fat shaming and stuff. So hopefully that's not the case with this. This one feels a little bit shorter than normal, you know. But yeah. This is the one that if I'm going to get any Christmas reading done before actual Christmas, actual December, this is the one that I'll probably be going to. So there we go. So I guess that is a book that I need to read by the end of the year because I need to give it back. Question 2. Do you have an autumnal book to transition you to the end of the year? So yeah, I mean, I feel like the reading I've been doing, and I did an autumn TBR, the reading I've been doing feels quite autumnal. I've just done a witchy reading project over on Instagram, whereby I was reading a different witchy book every week and then reviewing it on a Sunday, and that felt quite autumnal. I've also been reading quite a lot of historical fiction that feels autumnal to me for some reason. I mean, I read it all year, but it does feel autumnal. And then the last book that I'm going to show you is the book that, this is another book club book that I didn't mention earlier. I've got a choir book club, and the book we picked to read for choir book club, where we're meeting the last Wednesday of December, is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I mean, how adorable is this beautiful little Macmillan's Collector's Library edition? Amazing. And that's got Christmas in it, hasn't it? So it opens with Christmas. Although it's not a Christmas book, it features Christmas quite heavily. And yeah, so this feels, oh, 2 seconds. Oh my God, that was something so exciting. That was my Lush advent calendar arriving. It's still in the box, I haven't got it out yet. So once I've finished filming this, and me chatting about Christmas there, and then my Lush advent calendar arriving. I haven't, just side note, during lockdown I got the advent calendar to cheer myself up and it worked very, very well. However, I had one product missing. It was a little tiny perfume that year. And I contacted them and they were amazing. Their customer service was amazing. And they said, we're so sorry, but we haven't got the small one that came in the advent calendar. Would you be happy if we sent you, the full size one? And I was like, yes, of course I would be. So that year was amazing. So I had such a good experience with it that I bought it the following year. And then that year I had 3 products missing. And I was so disappointed, and because you're opening it sort of as it goes, you don't know that there's going to be 3 products missing. So I was having to sort of contact them again and be like, just to let you know guys, another product missing. And by the end, I felt like they thought I was taking the piss, and I really wasn't. I was just devastated that I had 3 products missing from my Lush advent calendar, and the customer service wasn't as good as it was the year before. And sadly, the 3 products that I had missing were all exclusives to the advent calendar. So they ended up giving me a voucher, and I've got a feeling, I can't remember, but I've got a feeling it was a £10 voucher. So I don't even think it was like the sort of money equivalent, because these advent calendars, although you get a lot of products in them, although you pay a lot for them, you get a lot of products in them, is what I'm saying. Anyway, so I didn't get it for a couple of years, and this year I've just been thinking about Lush and what a good company they are, and how I don't really treat myself to bath bombs and stuff throughout the year anymore like I used to, mainly because I don't really go to places where there are Lushes, and I don't do online orders for much stuff anymore. And I thought, if I can sell a certain amount of stuff on Vinted, of stuff that I'm getting out of my wardrobe, then I will treat myself to the Lush advent calendar. Now, I didn't get to that target, but David was very kind enough to give me the rest of the money for it, because he said he'll be benefiting from them anyway, which is true, because he'll be using the shower gels and the bath bombs and the soaps and all sorts of things like that. So yes, the Lush advent calendar is here. And yeah, I mean, I'm not doing Vlogmas this year, but have a look at my videos and maybe on my Instagram, which is at Lauren on the Books, if you'd like to follow my Lush advent calendar journey. Anyway, I suppose we'll get back to the book. So the question was, do you have an autumnal book to transition you to the end of the year? I was talking about historical fiction, saying I've read the witchy books, and then I was talking about Little Women, saying that this is my book club book for my choir book club. And yeah, I guess this is a transition. This is a great transition, because this is not a book about Christmas. However, it will definitely transition me into my Christmas reading, because it features Christmas quite heavily in it. And yeah, I'm really excited to read this new little edition. I think they're so gorgeous, and these would be beautiful presents as well. So there we go. Right, question 3 is there a new release that you are waiting for? So there is a new release that I'm waiting for, but it has already come out. And it's The Rosefield, which is the 3rd book. It's called The Rosefield. The 3rd book in his the Book of Dust series, which is the sort of accompanying, running alongside the His Dark Materials and After series by Philip Pullman. We've had to wait a long time for The Rosefield, and I have mixed feelings about the other 2 books. The first book, when I read it, I didn't really love it. So the first book is called La Belle Sauvage, but having listened to the audiobook since then a couple of times, which is narrated by, and I always get his name wrong, but the Welsh actor, what is his name? The one that's always with David Tennant. Martin, is it Martin? I can't think of his name at all. He's in Midnight in Paris. He's in Twilight. Oh my God, what's his name? Anyway, he does the narration and he's amazing. And then I went to watch at the cinema the theatre adaptation of The Belle Sauvage, and it was incredible, which made me even more sort of invested in the book, I suppose. So when I listen to it now, all I'm thinking about is what that black bloke's name is, and I cannot remember. People will be going wild in the comments saying it. And yeah, so that got me reinvested in it. I've always loved the His Dark Materials series. It's a book that my friend Dolores bought me when we were in our first year of university. I'd never read it before, and I remember getting it, and she bought it for me for Christmas, and I remember reading it when I was working a miserable seasonal Christmas job in Marks and Spencer, and reading it, having to get the train back to university to go to my miserable seasonal Christmas job. And I remember reading it around that time and just being so enthralled with it. And then I also remember reading the Amber Spyglass, which is the last in the series, where something so tragic happens that I can barely even talk about it now without crying, and being on holiday with my parents and having to shut myself in the toilet and cry because I was so upset. So yeah, I love His Dark Materials, and I love sort of the accompanying things I've seen of it, not that Golden Compass film, no, but the TV series I really enjoyed as well, with Andrew Scott and Lin-Manuel Miranda, two of my faves in. So yeah, so I've been waiting in quite a lot of anticipation for this new book to come. I really hope it's good. I think because I didn't like, and I've got rid of it, that's how much I didn't like. I got rid of the books because I knew I wouldn't read them again. I knew it was more of a listening thing for me. The second one, The Secret Commonwealth, where Lyra just didn't feel like the Lyra I remembered, and there was a few things that I didn't agree with. I mean, I didn't write the book, but there was a few things that I think Philip could have done better, to be honest. But yeah, so I'm really keen to get to it, but I'm re-listening to the series now, so I'm on The Subtle Knife, and then I've got the Amber Spyglass to listen to, then The Secret Commonwealth, and then Rosefield. So will it get done by the end of the year? Potentially. I've got about 2 hours left of The Subtle Knife, so it's still happening for me. But yeah, that's one that I would like to get to by the end of the year. That's a new release. We shall see. If you've read the Rosefields, don't give any spoilers away, but do write down below, like, if you've enjoyed it. I'd be interested to know. Question 4 is, what 3 books do you want to read before the end of the year? I've got 3 library books here that I would really like to read. So I'm going to continue with my reading of the Slow Horses series. So this is Real Tigers by Mick Herron, which is the 3rd in the Slow Horses series. And what I've been doing, which I've really bloody loved, because I love sort of like immersive reading experiences, is that I've read books 1 and 2 of the Slow Horses, which are called Slow Horses and Dead Lions. They correspond to the 1st and 2nd series of the TV show Slow Horses, which is on Apple TV, and I think is bloody brilliant, like a really good adaptation. So it was really, particularly when I was unwell and not able to concentrate on stuff in September and the beginning of October, it was really good reading like a good few chapters of the Slow Horses book and then watching an episode and being like, oh yeah. So the Dead Lions book differs, the ending differs quite a lot from the actual book. So I loved pointing that out to David, I'm sure you can imagine. But yeah, so this is the 3rd one, Real Tigers, and I would like to get that read by the end of November, and the season watched. So season, I mean series, we call it series here in the UK. So yeah, and then the next one I think is called Moscow Rules, Spook Street. So there we go, so that's one. I've also liked to read Orlanda by Jacqueline Hartman. I read I Who Have Never Known Men earlier this year by Jacqueline Hartman, also got out from the library, and that to this day is still the best book that I've read this year. So good, so thrilling and monotonous at the same time, which is a sort of quote I find myself saying whenever I'm recommending that book to anyone. But yeah, apparently this is quite different to I Who Have Never Known Men, but I'm keen to read it, so yeah, hopefully I would love to read this by the end. And then this I think would be a great seasonal experience. This is A Long Winter by Colm Toibin, who's the writer of Brooklyn and a whole host of other books I've read. But it's a little novella and it's set in the winter. And I feel like as the coldness is drawing in, I would love to sort of sit on the sofa and just read this the whole way through before the end of the year. So yes, that's the 3rd book. So 5, is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? Well, maybe Orlanda. I mean, maybe. Just because I loved I Who Have Never Known Men so much. Although sometimes that sets you up for a fall, doesn't it? And this does sound quite different. This is about a woman called Aileen who's got a voice in her head. And it says, it's brash, boisterous and sexually adventurous. This voice seems to be the antithesis of Aileen, a prim literature professor from whom each day promises to be as quiet and conventional as the last. That is until, after 35 years of imprisonment, her alter ego breaks free. Taking on a life of its own, Orlanda, Aileen's second self, slipped into the taut, rugged body of a young man. As Aileen continues unaware, Orlanda follows, dragging gleeful chaos in his wake, vowing to leave both their existences forever altered. So yeah, I mean, that does sound completely different to I Who Have Never Known Men. I should mention that these books are translated from French as well. Translated in this case by Ros Schwartz. But yeah, I just was so enthralled by I Who Have Never Known Men, which is a really awkward title to keep saying over and over again. That I think this could, it wouldn't surprise me, but maybe this could be another favourite of the year. Number 6 is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? Yeah, I've got 2 sort of reading resolutions that I've been thinking about for next year, and I always film a video at the beginning of the year where I talk about my reading plans. One of which is that I've been using Storygraph this year to log my reading, which is a wonderful thing to use, and would highly recommend you use it. Storygraph, I'll link it down below, and you can log on there how you do your reading. You can look at your stats for the month and things like that, and I love looking at my stats for the month and for the whole year. But something I've really noticed is that I haven't read as much non-fiction as I thought I did. So I thought that maybe I didn't think that my reading was half and half non-fiction. No, I didn't think my reading was half and half non-fiction, but I thought I'd read more, and at the moment my reading is on about 19% non-fiction and like 81% fiction. And I'd like that next year to be maybe nearer the 40-60 mark, so 40% non-fiction, 60% fiction. I really enjoy reading non-fiction, and I like educating myself on subjects and people's lives that I don't have direct contact with. And some of the non-fiction books I've read this year have been absolute bangers. So, and I think with the advent of non-fiction becoming much more accessible, certainly to me in terms of things like being able to follow the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction, being able to look at the Baillie Gifford shortlists and things like that, then I haven't really got an excuse. Like, it's not like non-fiction is harder to find or is like super academic and not accessible to me, because the new sort of strain of narrative non-fiction that's coming through, good God, I'm just loving it. It's so readable and so informative and just brings up so many amazing questions and discussions and stuff. So yeah, I would really like to in 2026 level out my non-fiction to fiction reading. So I'd like to maybe consider, yeah, I'd like to get, is it a bit of a reach to be like 40-60? I don't think it is a bit of a reach. So yeah, I'd like to be 40-60 by the end of the year. So that will take work throughout the year. And then the other thing that I'd like to do, which feels mad even saying it, but I finished my 140 something, 145th, 146th book this week. And I mean, that's mad, isn't it? Like, it's not even nearly the end of the year and I've read 140 something books. I mean, so that means I'm probably going to have read like 170 books by the end of the year, which whilst is lovely, like, I think maybe next year I'd like to read a little bit less. Is that something I should be saying as a booktuber? But like, I'd like to spend a bit more time. I never rush myself through things, but I've always got sort of 4 books on the go, and I definitely concentrate more when I've got 1 book on the go. So I think I need to have a little chat with myself. Maybe it won't be reading less, maybe it'll just be reading sort of like 1 book on the go at any one time. But yeah, I always have like a book that I own, a book from the library, an audiobook, and probably a book on my Kindle on the go. So I tend to always have like 4 books on the go, and I get through those sort of for a week, really. So maybe I need to think about next year maybe only having 1 physical book on the go. I'll always have an audiobook on the go, always. But yeah, maybe slowing down and maybe reaching for longer books. Like, I read North and South earlier this year, which was over 600 pages, and I absolutely loved it. I'm just thinking how long this little edition of Little Women's going to be. Yeah, this is almost 600. It is over 600 pages. And I loved it. So yeah, maybe reading less feels a bit brazen to say it as a booktuber, but yeah, or maybe just take more care. No, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with the reading I've done this year. Like, I've like, amazing that I've read that many books, but like, I was thinking, oh, it might be nice to slow down a bit next year. But at the same time, I'm not saying I'm going to be ever without a book on the go, because that to me is like saying I'm not going to breathe tomorrow. It's the same sort of thing. So yeah, those are some reading resolutions, but I will have more by the new year because things are sort of coming to me all the time. But those are 2 ones that are definitely I've been thinking about, particularly the non-fiction one. So there we go. The end of the year book tag. Just remembered that my Lush advent calendar's arrived, so I'm going to go and have a look at that. Let me know how your reading's been so far this year. Let me know how you're getting on. Would love to hear your answers to the questions, and I'll see you all again soon. I'll see you on Wednesday, in fact, for the Christmas book club video. See you then. Goodbye.